In the arid streets of Ica, south of Lima, a boy named Hugo Sotil spent hours chasing a ball without imagining his obsession. In a few years, it would lead him to shine in the elite of world football and to become a living legend of one of the biggest clubs in the world and of his country's national team. He was born on May 8, 1949, and from the moment he could walk, Hugo and the ball were inseparable. The problem was that he only had one pair of shoes and he needed them to go to school. His mother forbade him from playing in the street to care for them, but stopping Sotil from playing soccer was difficult. His rebelliousness and relentless drive to play and be on the field defined him from a young age. So he had to learn to play barefoot and with balls made out of worn-out socks. As Hugo was the second of 7 siblings, their family's financial problems worsened as it grew. His parents moved to Lima seeking a better future and settled in Porvenir La Victoria. When he was 9 years old, he began to develop a very particular talent in those streets and became known because of it. Whenever he wasn't helping his family, selling candy, shining shoes, or carrying coffee bags at the La Parada market in Lima, Hugo ran after a ball, and when he had it, he wouldn't let go. He always moved forward. Several local clubs took notice, but it was at Deportivo Galliard, where, at the age of 14, Hugo began to stand out in such an obvious way. At that age, the little master's eyes were no longer just on the ball, but also on the daughter of his club's president, Guillermina Eche. Hugo, as a child, fell madly in love with that girl, with whom he has now been married for more than 50 years, his life partner. Love couldn't distract Hugo. His passion for soccer was so strong that he kept playing and excelling in many clubs. In 1966, at 17, he joined Laboratorio Droga to play in the Mundialito del Porvenir, the most popular and intense street soccer competition in Lima. Started in 51, the tradition continued through 66. A team made up of stars like Teófilo Cubillas, Julio Bailón, and Hugo Sotil became champions that year, showing impressive soccer and catching everyone's attention. That exposure brought Hugo and his friends to Alianza Lima's youth divisions. The problem was that as time went by, he didn't find many opportunities. While the NQB was breaking into the first team, Hugo wasn't even considered. That's why, in 1968, he accepted the offer from Deportivo Municipal, a beloved team then playing in the second division of Peruvian soccer. At 19, Hugo found playing opportunities at Muni while searching for a chance. He led the team to first division promotion, scoring 14 goals in 18 games, and strongly attracting the attention of the press and the fans. But it wasn't just the goals and assists, it was the way he played. He was fast, unpredictable, a great dribbler, a different kind of forward, and watching him play became a pleasure. That's why, soon after his debut, the San Martín de Porres Stadium filled up every match. Everyone wanted to see him, and people insisted he join the national team. But Brazilian coach Didi refused to call up a second division player. He needed to prove himself in the first division, so the next year, Sotil aimed to show his talent was no fluke. He scored 10 goals, and Muni finished 4th that year, having just been promoted and with him as their star player. By the end of '69, not only were the fans asking for Cholo to be on the national team, but the players were too.
Do you know what, Didi? Call him soon because he plays better than all of us.
So he was called up, and on February 24, 1970, he made his debut with the Peruvian national team in a friendly match against Bulgaria. Sotil entered the field in the second half in front of a crowd that gave him a standing ovation. The score was 1-0 against us. El Cholo tied the game in the 55th minute after just 10 minutes on the field, scored again at the 84th, and Chalaca netted the third at the 88th. A dream hat trick to seal a comeback that would end 5-3. All eyes are on his debut. They were very big, yet El Cholo overcame it and secured a key spot on the Peruvian national team preparing for Mexico. 70 for their return to the Cup after 40 years. And interestingly, the first match of that World Cup was again against Bulgaria, the same European team we had come back against just months before. This time, Peru would wear red with a black ribbon on the left sleeve, since just 2 days earlier, A devastating 7.9 earthquake had claimed nearly 70,000 to 50,000 lives, and more than 20,000 people went missing. The saddest natural disaster in Peru's history. That's why the match was played in mourning and with high emotions. Winning was crucial, but the match began poorly. We trailed in the first half. As in the last friendly, Coach Didi brought on Hugo Sotil for the second half. El Cholo came in and changed the game completely. Hugo changed how Peru played. We started the second half down 2-0, but Gallardo scored to narrow the gap. Sotil was fouled near the box. Chumpitaz converted the equalizer, and Cubillas scored to make it 3-2 and turn the game around. This was among Peru's most exciting World Cup wins. Cholo's influence was clear, so for the next match against Morocco, the coach decided not to bring him in during the second half. This time, he would start as a starter and be part of that 3-0 win against the African team, and then he would start again against Germany. Peru reached the quarterfinals in that World Cup but lost to Pele's Brazil, who went on to become world champions. In one of the most exciting and memorable matches in World Cup history, Sotil's good performances would put him in the international spotlight in the following seasons. He established himself at Deportivo Municipal, becoming a key player and keeping them near the top of the table. In 1971, a turning point in his career occurred when he encountered Bayern Munich, led by Franz Beckenbauer, Gerd Müller, and Sepp Maier. While touring South America, they arranged a friendly against Alianza Lima, who added Deportivo Municipal players, including Hugo Sotil. The Peruvian club delivered a convincing 4-1 thrashing, surprising everyone, including in Europe, where the talent of Peruvian players, especially Hugo Sotil and Teófilo Cubillas, was highlighted. Barcelona from Spain, managed by Rinus Michels, showed the most interest. Seeking reinforcement for the 1973-1974 season, Michels traveled to Peru to watch matches, including the Alianza game, Municipal. Witnesses revealed that the Dutch coach, director of the Clockwork Orange, came to Peru thinking about Nene Cubillas. But after watching the match and the reference videos, he realized that the one he was really looking for was Cholo Sotil. His playing style fit better with what he had planned, so he went to his house, knocked on his door, introduced himself, and made Hugo a proposal that would change his life forever.
When I came out, it was Professor Michels, the coach of the Clockwork Orange, the president, and me, the manager.
More to him.
My brother was going to go to Spain. I already told my brother. He said he didn't want to go.
A lot before Messi, Ronaldinho, Riquelme, Rivaldo, or Maradona. Hugo Sotil, a 24-year-old South American, took over the number 10 jersey for the Catalan team. At that time, the club was going through a period of change. It had already been 14 years without winning the league, so they decided to make a big bet and put together an elite squad, the best in their history. That's why, after Peruvian Hugo Sotil, Dutchman Johan Cruyff also arrived. He was the world's best player then, and among the most important ever. He had just won the 1971 Ballon d'Or and was a 3-time European Cup champion with Ajax, the Champions League of that time. This led to offers from the world's top teams. But after much consideration, he finally decided to say no to Real Madrid and sign with Football Club Barcelona through a transfer of over 60 million pesetas, a record at the time. With this major investment, the club secured its second international signing that year. Johan Cruyff and Hugo Sotil would join a squad made up of Spanish stars like Marcial Pina, Carlos Rexach, and Juan Manuel Asensi. That year, they formed one of the club's best attacking lines. Hugo managed to connect with everyone, but his chemistry with the Dutchman was special both on the field and on a personal level. They were friends who lived on the same floor. Their children played in the courtyard, and they formed an unstoppable forward line on Camp Nou's grass. 12 goals in total for Hugo, 16 for Johan Cruyff that season. They came from different worlds, from different backgrounds, and had different sports training, but being different on the field was what they had most in common. Johan Cruyff practiced total football, going beyond the typical functions of a forward, looking to penetrate all areas of the field, scoring goals, and then dropping back to organize the play. He had a European tactical order, while Hugo was a typical South American star. Agile, a dribbler, unpredictable, and hard to mark. When the ball reached the Peruvian's feet, no one knew what would happen. But it was clear something significant was coming. Did watching him play for Municipal in the second division make you stand up? Seeing him at Camp Nou before 90,000 people and the world's best must have been a real luxury. Although his most important match that dream season wouldn't be at home, but at the Bernabeu, in that unforgettable 5-0 against Real Madrid, one of the most memorable matches in this classic's history, as it was marked by intense social and political tensions. It was more than a soccer match like Peru versus Bulgaria after the earthquake. That afternoon, Hugo starred and sealed the 5th goal with this header.
I ran as if I was going to the east stands and he grabbed me by the neck. Johan Cruyff, where are you going? He tells me, go celebrate my goal. Do you want us to get killed up here?
Cholo knew how to play these kinds of matches. He stood out the most in important games. His instincts seemed to sharpen in big moments and in football. This trait can turn men into idols anywhere in the world, and Barcelona was no exception for Hugo Sotil.
And it changed my life.
For the better? Winning the League Cup ended the club's 14-year drought. In his first season, Hugo had not only won over the fans, but he had also brought the club a long-awaited title. He also helped his friend Johan win his second Ballon d'Or in 1973 and a third in 1974. No one had won more than one when Cruyff already had 3, the boy from Ica. Now he was playing in the Cup, the best in Europe, and as if that wasn't enough, the day he had to face him, he managed to beat him. This occurred in October 1973 during Europa versus America, a match uniting the best from each continent. That afternoon at Camp Nou, Sotil scored in the 13th minute. The match ended 4-4 and was decided by penalties. There, the America of Cholo Sotil, also featuring Nene Cubillas and captained by Héctor Chumpitas, would end up prevailing, standing up to the Europe of Johan Cruyff, Facchetti, and Eusebio. That 73-74 season was without a doubt the best in Hugo Sotil's club career. But unfortunately, the following season brought an unexpected blow as coach Venus Michels decided to go with another international signing, the Dutchman Johan Neeskens, another renowned player and Ajax star from the 1974 World Cup. At that time, the Netherlands dominated world football, experiencing a golden era in players, clubs, World Cup results, and tactical impact. Michels' total football was a revolutionary and effective style. He had proven it with his national team, turning them into the Clockwork Orange and leaving an indelible mark on the history of football. So, after a good World Cup, he decided to bring that strategy to Football Club Barcelona. This greatly affected Hugo Sotil's career, as Neeskens' arrival cost him his starting spot and forced him off the team roster. At that time, clubs could only have 2 foreign players, so for Hugo to have a chance to play, he first had to become a Spanish citizen. The club took care of the paperwork, but it was complicated and took longer than expected. This meant that the Peruvian couldn't play in any league matches that season, even though the previous year he played 34 games and was a champion, being one of the key players. This was a hard blow for Hugo Sotil. The loss of continuity affected his rhythm and football level. The doors to other kinds of hobbies, distractions, and luxuries. Among them was that yellow Ferrari 365 Gran Turismo Spider model he bought, a unique piece in all of Barcelona, which started to be seen frequently outside the best nightclubs in the city. Cholo kept earning the same, but now he had more free time. That season, he played just 5 cup matches and scored twice. The next season, he gained Spanish citizenship and returned to play important matches. Cholo gradually regained his consistency and became a key player for the tournaments. Maybe that's why, in 1975, Barcelona denied him permission to play in that year's Copa America, preventing him from traveling with the Peruvian delegation and from defending his colors. Those were different times. There were no Federación Internacional de Football Association dates, and teams were not required to release their players for national team tournaments. The Copa America started in mid-July and ended at the end of August, with many crucial matches during that period, so they decided to forbid Cholo from traveling to play for his country. He had to watch on television. How? Peru reached the final against Colombia by defeating Chile, Bolivia, and eliminating Brazil in the Cup. In that edition, Copa America used home and away matches, and the final did not consider goal difference. Colombia won the first leg 1-0, Peru took the second 2-0, setting up a decisive third match. At this point, Cholo couldn't take it anymore, so he decided to risk everything for what his heart was telling him. He secretly went to the airport, bought a ticket to Madrid, then one to Caracas. Without even knowing where his teammates were staying, he had to ask around until he found the training location. On October 27th, a day before the final, he showed up in a suit with 30 gold watches, which he handed out to his teammates and the coaching staff, who were very surprised by such a generous gift. But even more so seeing him there right before a match and without his team's permission.
At that moment, I didn't think about anything. I only thought about myself. Defending the Kazakh identity of my country. It wasn't the last chance, because here in Peru, people were already saying a lot of things about me, that because I had become a citizen, I no longer love my country.
The figure of Hugo Sotil was so important for the national team that he made it into the starting lineup of a squad that had reached the final on its own merits. Even though changing the lineup days before a final was risky, Cholo could face the most important match of his career. On October 28, 1975 in Caracas, Venezuela, the match against Colombia, led by Efrain Cayman Sanchez and Willington Ortiz, was evenly contested. The result was uncertain, but this was the kind of match that inspired Hugo. In the 25th minute, the ball goes out right, Soria throws in, fullback Percy Rojas heads it back, and Soria crosses to Oblitas. Peru attacks, Colombia clears to midfield. The ball reaches Neni Cubillas, who controls and shoots. It's deflected by a Colombian player and ricochets off another, and it ends up near the penalty spot, at the mercy of the Barcelona player, who doesn't hesitate and strikes it hard. It was one of the Peruvian national team's most important goals, as the match ended 1-0. The lead could have grown when, in the 66th minute, Sotil was fouled in the box by Pedro Sape, earning a penalty, but Cubillas missed it. It's not easy to play matches with that level of pressure, but Hugo was there, and with his goal, Peru would become Copa America champions for the second time. The Peruvians took to the streets. A wave of celebrations broke out all over the country and in the media, offices, bars, universities, and schools. There was nothing else people talked about except patriotism, the feat, and the sacrifice of Hugo Sotil.
I wanted to do it, no. Seeing all my teammates singing the national anthem is one thing I can tell you about, but it's another thing to actually feel it.
He escaped from a top club's training camp, leaving behind $1 million contract and strict rules, risking his financial future in European football. He paid for the tickets and the paperwork himself so he could defend the colors he loved the most, the ones that mattered most to him. No one in his country thought he would do that. At that time, his situation at the club wasn't great. He didn't have the same chances as in his first season. His performance was being questioned, and his son was about to be born. Maybe it wasn't the most responsible choice, and maybe he took too big a risk by going. That was Hugo Sotil, a rebellious, patriotic, impulsive Peruvian whose emotions still overwhelm him. Whenever he thinks or talks about his national team,
he got emotional. The anger? What is he angry about? Tell us. About not seeing my national team in a World Cup. Yes. That's what I'm angry about.
After lifting the cup, Hugo returned to Barcelona with an official who had traveled to Caracas to ensure his quick return to Spain. Cholo had to join the team quickly to play against Celta de Vigo away. In that match, Sotil would score a goal, trying to make up for his lack of discipline. But when he returned, club president Agustin Montal called him to his office, and very seriously, he explained to him that he had just put the future of his career and his family at risk. No player had ever done this before. He congratulated him on the championship and invited him to visit accounting.
He has been risking his job, risking his family. I felt my soul return, that sensation of soul.
Hugo feared the worst. He thought he would be fired. But instead, he received a generous check for the birth of his son and permission to go see him. Maybe it was these gestures that cemented Cholo's deep love for the club that took him to the top. He played 26 matches and scored 5 goals that season, but had fewer opportunities the next. And in 1977, 4 years after he arrived, he said goodbye to the club he loved so much and where he felt so loved. Hugo Sotil was more than just a player at Barcelona. He delivered a memorable title that wouldn't be repeated for a while. Neskens, who replaced him, couldn't match Cruyff's achievement, which was clear.
The departure of
Sotil, even though Neskens arrived, Charlie wasn't really noticed. We've mentioned it before. At first, Barca, the missing piece, was left there. That's why
Many fans, especially older ones, recall him as an icon of that era. So much so that he was invited on multiple occasions by the club to be part of the most special ceremonies. The most recent was the club's 125th anniversary on November 29, 2024. At the celebration, they played an emotional video with messages from idols Barca will never forget. First came Andrés Iniesta, then Romario Busquets, Luis Enrique, David Villa, Luis Suárez Rivaldo, Jordi Alba, Carles Puyol.
And after Neymar, Hugo Cholo Sotil speaks to him to wish them a wonderful day celebrating their 125th anniversary.
Then Cholo would bring out his Bizarreta Ronaldinho, and of course they would finish with Lionel Messi. This is the level of consideration that Peruvians receive at the Catalan club. A legend, an idol, a player who symbolizes the beginning of an era of greatness for one of the most important clubs in the history of football. A club that would soon get used to having the best number 10s in the world among its ranks. And Cholo was one of the first, a historic reference for those who would come after. Not just because of the titles, but also because of his unforgettable playing style, his connection with the fans, and what he was able to convey on the field, a unique ability to stir emotions. When the ball reached his feet, hope seemed to come alive in the stands of Camp Nou. Those who had the privilege of watching him say they still remember how they felt seeing him play, something few footballers possess, that gift of being unforgettable. That's why there's so much respect for Hugo Sotil in the history books of Football Club Barcelona. That's why he's a considered and recognized idol there, according to his own statements, much more than in his own country.
And every year they invite my wife and me for a 15 or 20-day vacation.
But Sotil's career continued after Barcelona. After leaving, he returned to Alianza Lima, his childhood club, but never made his debut there. This time the situation was different. Cholo arrived as one of the stars of one of the best, if not the best, squads in the history of the Blanquiazzo club, sharing the locker room with friends like Teófilo Cubillas, César Cueto, José Velázquez, Jaime Duarte, and Guillermo La Rosa. Cholo fit perfectly into an amazing team, became a key starter, scored many goals, won back-to-back championships, and reached the Copa Libertadores semifinals. In 1978, with Hugo leading, Peru qualified for the World Cup again. Sotil would play all 3 matches of the group stage. He was present for the 3-1 win over Scotland, 4-1 over Iran, and 0-0 with the Netherlands. In that match, he faced Johan Neskens again, his former replacement who was still with Barcelona. Despite speculation, Sotil and Neskens were friends who respected each other as players. The Dutchman often praised Sotil in interviews, and one of Cholo's most positive traits was that he managed to get along with all his teammates and fit in positively in every locker room, consistently building good relationships with colleagues. He was a noble man. That's why there are no records or testimonies of significant enmities with anyone, either professionally or personally. Returning to the 1978 World Cup, the second half was notably poor for Peru. They lost 1-0 against Poland and then suffered 2 heavy defeats, 3-0 against Brazil and the terrible 6-0 against the host, Argentina. One of the Peruvian national team's most controversial matches. But that's another story. It's important to point out that Hugo Sotil didn't play in either of those 2 big wins, and Argentina 78 would be his last World Cup. The Cup and 2 strong seasons with Alianza proved Cholo was still at a high level, so in 79, at 30 years old, he was signed by Independiente de Medellin, although his time there was a bit more discreet. He spent 2 years there before returning to his debut club, Deportivo Municipal. In 81, he won a regional tournament, and in 82, they made the Copa Libertadores. In 84, eager to keep playing, he went to Espartanos de Pacasmayo to participate in the Copa Peru, and then went to Deportivo Junín in 86 to play his last match and retire at 37 years old. Champion of the second division with Muni, Spanish League winner with Barca, and 2-time champion with Alianza Lima, and surely the most important title of all, champion with Peru in the 1975 Copa America, something that hasn't happened again. He was also ranked by Goal as the 4th best forward in the world in the 1970s. As a final fact, Hugo Sotil was also an actor and starred in a movie called Cholo, released in 1970. The main character was a painter who was passionate about soccer.
Cholo, switch to right wing. Millan, move to the center. Ruiz, go to the left.
Hugo Alejandro Sotil. Urín was arguably one of the most talented, if not the most talented, players in Peruvian soccer history. When I saw him at Barcelona's anniversary, next to the greatest figures in the history of modern soccer, I knew I had to make this video. But on that path, the worst happened.
The year 2024 leaves us with sad news.
Last minute.
And honestly, it's really sad to share this kind of news.
I have to lower my tone a bit and feel a deep sorrow because we've truly lost a great one.
This is news we would not have wanted to share with you.
A player from the golden era of Peruvian soccer has passed away.
It's a shame. May he rest in peace. Legend of Barca. Without a doubt, he made a great partnership with Cruyff. Spectacular?
Well, on the human side, I can say he was simply an exceptional man.
I was able to thoroughly research his career, his life, and the kind of person he was. Hugo stood out as a brilliant soccer player, great father, loyal partner, and dear friend. Unfortunately, on December 30th, 2024, at the age of 75, he had to leave this world, but his legacy and memory are immortal. Hugo Sotil deserves to be remembered for his talent, for his quality as a person, and above all, for that unconditional love he felt for his country. For him, there was nothing more important than wearing the Peruvian jersey and giving everything for it, a value that seems to be increasingly scarce as the years go by. And I'm sure that from above, Hugo Sotil also holds on to the hope that this value hasn't disappeared forever. Alongside him,
whenever I had the chance to wear the red and white, I was capable of giving it my all. I gave everything, and I will keep giving everything for as long as I'm alive, all that love that the people of Barcelona gave me. It can't be forgotten. The day I die, as a saying from a song goes, I hope they bury me with the Barcelona jersey.
if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and check out other stories on the channel. See you next time. Goodbye.